The wait is finally over! Welcome everyone to half the race gone for the Nukeshot Endurance Series Season 5. This is the preview event, of course, at Circuit de San Croix B. I am not Dirt and DK, I am Zokyo. I am another commentator of sorts. You may have heard me on the channel before. Somehow managed to hack my way into the servers. But let's ignore that. Felix, of course, our safety car, leading these guys out on the pace lap. Splurge managed to qualify on pole position in LMP, followed by Arama and Ross. So Ross doing a very good job on their debut so far. Houdini managed to qualify 4th. Mika in 5th. And there you see also newcomer Tribe, the Sterling Racing Team, down in 6th at the moment. For the GT3 category, we have Brandon, who managed to stick that Mustang on pole, followed by Bandit into Jaguar in 2nd. Rotary, another newcomer, like Brandon, they are starting from 3rd on the grid, followed closely by Farron, who is starting in 4th on their debut. A bit further back there you see James, a veteran of the series, being headed since Season 1, they are starting 5th. Bit further back as well, there you see GTO, another Season 1 veteran, they're in 6th at the moment, the Hyundai. NS Rhino managed to qualify 7th on their debut, and Mythical Triangle rounds off the grid in that Britannia Racing Simtech Aston Martin. So in both categories it is a fantastic grid, fantastic colours, fantastic teams, and at the end of the pace lap here we are. We're about to get things underway. Splurge will be leading us off. Felix, the pace car, will be heading into the pits. There you see all 6 of the LMPs in the AM split category making the way around the final corner. The long boy of Splurge, the Nissan GTR LM Nismo, leading us off. We are green, 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 and the cars are off. Splurge has a very good start. The straight line in that Nissan is very, very strong indeed. As they charge down towards turn 1, pretty much unchallenged. A bit further back, Ross managing to get 2nd. So Arama having a bit of a slide, they drop down to 3rd. There you see Houdini coming under a bit of pressure from the likes of Tribe. So the Sterling Racing Team TSO50 is certainly looking strong at this stage, and look at that, the hybrid power of that thing out of the corner exit is absolutely insane, and it gets them up into 4th place. So Houdini has a little bit of work to do, although Houdini does seem to be going a little bit slow actually. Mika managing to get past. There you see the straight line advantage that the Hyundai normally has is gone from being a non-hybrid. As for 2nd place in the race, we have Arama trying to go around the outside of Splurge. He'll turn to the inside through the impossible corner. The long boy does struggle in the slower speed stuff, and Arama does manage to get the move done, a brave one indeed. But now you see the Nissan with that insane straight line speed that it has at the moment. Can't quite find a way through on that occasion, and has to slot back in. Braking again, can't quite challenge on that occasion. Now we're actually going to see what happened. This is the opening lap. Oh, Splurge! Massive tank slapper on the downhill section, loses the car. No doubt would have picked up damage from that. That explains why they dropped down the order. Meanwhile, this was the GT3 start. Of course, the pace car already pulled in, and it is green, 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 and the cars are off. Brandon with a very good start indeed, but can't quite gap the field like Splurge did off the line in LMP. Meanwhile, look at this. Rotary having to defend a bit from Farron, which is also allowing James to come into the mix. Meanwhile, look at this Bandit going down the inside of Brandon. He'll turn to the outside. Has he got it done? Not quite. Brandon doing a very good job holding his line, and eventually came back to him, and this actually allowed Rotary to get up alongside Bandit on the downhill section. Rotary with a very tight line through there. They managed to get it done. Meanwhile, Farron coming under a bit of pressure from both the Britannia Racing Simtech Aston Martins. There you see Farron being slipstreamed as they go over the bridge for the first time. Will there be a move into the braking? So there is one from Bandit. Bandit looking to regain a place on Rotary. And they get it done. And now they can try their best to focus back on Brandon. If those two start scrapping as they go side by side again, Brandon might be able to get away. It looks like Bandit just about managed to hold out. Farron in the Porsche. Certainly a car that's known more for its cornering than its straight line speed. The Aston Martins behind should have an advantage as they make their way down the street. There you see Mythical Triangle pulling out and going down the inside. It's a very late dive bomb and there's contact between them and Rotary. They run into the back of Rotary. Both cars damaged from that for certain. And there you see Triangle just having to slow down because of their damage. So unfortunate stuff. Couldn't quite lick the stamp and send it on that one. Meanwhile, Tribe coming under a bit of pressure from Mika, this is. So Sterling Racing Team in the yellow, white and red machine. The TSO 50 of course, and in the TSO 30 the black and red machine of Rebellion by Nukeshot is Mika. Mika with a run on the straight, manages to get a move done before the King. And indeed manages to keep the position. And up ahead, both of those guys' teammates. Rolls a bit reversed at the moment, with Arama chasing down Ross. Oh look at that, was a fantastic run out of the S's in the last sector, and Arama does manage to get up into the lead. Meanwhile, this is a replay of the formation lap, I believe. We did see that Houdini was going very slow in the earlier stages of the LMP start, and that is why they run into the barrier and pick up damage on the formation lap. As the safety car is called out for the first time in NES history. So a safety car period, no overtaking. And indeed here we are a bit later on when the safety car has picked up everyone in the field. This will be the lap that the pit lane will be open for. So we should see quite a few people making pit stops. We're only 4 laps into the race. 3 racing laps. Is that Farron going in? No, they're just weaving. Who is going in? Oh, Mika, Mythical, Tribe, Splurge, Houdini. Quite a lot of cars there. Now heading back a lap later. This is the restart lap. So the safety car will be in at the end of this. It's going to be Ross of Sterling Racing Team leading us off. This will be an interesting experience for the rookie as they make their way onto the start finish straight. Now it's green, 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 and the cars are off. And the TSO 50s have a mega launch from their hybrid system. And look at this, Tribe is making a move on Mika as well, trying to go around the outside of turn 1. Mika just about managed to hold on to it, a little bit of twitch, but they managed to keep second place. And for how much longer you got to think, as Tribe is looking very racy indeed, but Tribe spun! Tribe has spun! Yellow flags in that sector, and Tribe parks up there just trying to avoid being hit by the GTs. They'll be back in the race shortly. Meanwhile with the GT3s, you see Brandon chasing down Bandit at this stage a bit further back as well. A bit of a scrap between Aston Martins and Porsches. Making their way down the hill, Farron in hot pursuit of Rotary and being chased by James. Meanwhile for the lead, now look at this, Brandon on the straight managing to muscle his way past in the Mustang. So they get back up into first in class. Bandit gonna try and go around the outside. Will he? No, not quite. Couldn't quite do it on that occasion. We'll have the slipstream for the upcoming straight though as they go out the impossible corner. There you see Rotary making his way around, going on to Village Straight. Well, the Porsche actually seems to have a very good run of Farin, the Porsche GT team, but there you see, the Porsche doesn't have the straight line speed to match the likes of the Aston Martin. It is certainly more of a cornering machine. Going on the outside is Bandit, is he? Brakes late. Will he be able to do it? Brandon leaves room, a little bit of a twitch, and indeed, Bandit is alongside, making the way through the S's, and Bandit does make the move stick. But it looks like Brandon's coming back through. There's a little bit of contact, but it looks like no damage. It's just allowing Rotary to get back into the fight as well as these two are scrapping it out. Brandon looking to try and get back down the inside. That Mustang very strong on the straights, as we know. The slipstream as well will certainly be helping him. Now thinking about going down the inside again, it almost looked like Rotary was going to make it too wide as Brandon goes down the inside of turn 1. Great move there. Meanwhile, this is a replay of GTO's Hyundai and the Virtual Endurance Racing team. It just seemed to brake a bit too late, and indeed collects Farin on that occasion. Both cars with damage. That might have either been Farin braking a bit too early, catching him out, or GTO braking a bit too late. Meanwhile, LMP, Ross loses it at turn 3 on exit, just running a bit too much on the grass. And they're down 2 positions, and they've run into the grass again. What's happening to Ross? It's a Motor Rebellion racing by Nukeshot 1 and 2 at the moment, with Mika leading them away with a Rama second, and it looks like a Rama's going to have to do a bit of defending here. Bit of a Rosberg squeeze on Ross. Didn't think that would work out as well as it did when it came out my mouth. And Ross has actually managed to get up into the lead from all of that. There you see it. And also you also see the long boy. It doesn't even need slipstream to get past these guys. It is that fast on the straights, and Splurge will be challenging. It's pretty much 3-4 wide at times going into the corners. This is an absolutely almighty scrap in LMPM right now. Somehow Mika manages to defend first place. Splurge goes up into second. Arama drops to third. Ross down to fourth. And now looks Splurge right on the back. Oh, a little bit of contact. Bit of a miscommunication between drivers. Might have picked up damage on Splurge's car. It's difficult to tell. It's only sparks thrown up by the barrier. Making their way down, it looks like Splurge is going to try and send it on Arama. A little bit of understeer from the long boy, and it does send Arama off as well, so Arama loses a position from that move. Arama perhaps going to be overtaken by Houdini as well. So Splurge still looking to get back up to the lead of things. They did qualify first. Looks like Ross is going to give them a bit of a hard time. They're chasing them down, making their way through the downhill S's, a section of the track that's so easy to mess up on the braking, as we're seeing right now actually from Arama and Mika. It seems both of them, we're going to have to see this on a replay. Here it is. So this is Mika from the lead of the race. It is such a difficult braking zone with it being turning and downhill. Mika does indeed lose it, goes into the barrier, and it was just collected by their teammate making the same mistake. So tragedy strikes for Rebellion Racing. Down the inside goes James, licking the stamp and sending it. That was a fantastic move by the Brit of Britannia Racing Simtech, as we're having another safety car intervention. This was for the incident involving Mika and Arama. So the field has been collected up, and we should be seeing some more pit stops. So already we've seen a fantastic amount of action. It'll be interesting to see who does go into the pits. There you see, of course, Felix, safety car driver, doing his usual stuff. It seems that Splurge is going to go into the pits. They have picked up damage, so wisely so. And this is going to be the safety car restart. It's going to be Ross again, who has managed to benefit from all of this pit stop malarkey and get themselves up into first for the restart. They will have Houdini behind them, but Houdini's Hyundai isn't a hybrid and therefore shouldn't have the acceleration to match Ross off the line as the safety car goes in. Green, 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 and the cars are off. And as expected, Ross has a massive run on everyone. Meanwhile, Arama with the hybrid and the TSO30 trying to go around the outside of Houdini. There's a little bit of contact, nearly sends Houdini into a spin. Meanwhile, the GT3 start, it was Brandon leading these guys off. Green, green, green on the GT3 start as well. As the field really starting to spread out, Bandit already looking very racy. As James goes down the inside, bit of contact there. Pretty much same thing that happened to Houdini. He just seemed to lose the car mid-apex from the contact, it seemed, and he dropped so many positions. So James dropped all the way down to around 5th in GT3 at the moment. They're looking like they are going to be challenging a bit, going down the hill, but trying to challenge Farron. Looking at Bandit now, they're also trying to get up into the lead of the race again. Fantastic scrapping we've already been seeing between those two. At the front of the field, Brandon going defensive as they make their way over the bridge. Will Bandit be able to break late enough? It's going to be close. Also in the back there you see James making position on Farron, but he's gone into the wall, and the Porsche and Jaguar rather had to take evasive action. Because of that, I think both of those are okay, but James certainly will not be. It's been a bit of an awful restart for them. And here is Splurge overtaking his B teammate, Houdini, or A teammate technically, due to Houdini being in the main team, but that Martini and Rossi Grand Prix Longoy is certainly pulling in a shift. Look at that, over the bridge, breezes past the Rebellion Racing TSO30 of Arama, and they get themselves up into second, make their way through the impossible corner, going on to Village Straight. A little bit of a slide from Arama actually, as the slipstream combined with the straight line speed. Here you see it on the onboard, absolutely ludicrous stuff, as Splurge retakes the lead of the race, going into the braking zone there. Now back to the GT3s, this almighty scrap that we've been seeing throughout the race so far. Bandit now looking to the outside line.com. Brandon seeming to brake late on that occasion. Is Bandit, I think they've just got their nose in, and indeed they're alongside through the S's, side by side for the lead. And it looks like Bandit did have to just get out of the throttle a little bit as Brandon makes their way through again. So a little bit patient. Going through the final corner. That Jaguar is going to have a lot of slipstream as they make their way down the straight. On board again, this time with Bandit. There you see the back of that Ford. They go defensive. Very good defensive move, it has to be said, from Brandon. And it looks like Bandit couldn't quite get it done on that occasion. Meanwhile, Farron and Rhino, they're battling it out at the moment, a bit further back at the head of this sort of train. Rhino getting out ahead of those two. Farron perhaps also coming under a bit of threat from James as well. Cutting back to Ross, who's currently second for Sterling Racing Team in the LMP category. They're being chased down by Arama and the Rebellion Racing TSO30. Purple through Sector 2 as they go across the bridge. So Ross showing that they do have quite a lot of pace, but they're sliding, and that could have so easily caught Arama, but they just about miss it. Sparks being thrown up as well by the Dutchman. The TSO 50 right in the slipstream of its older brother. Can't quite get a run going through the kink. Of course, the TSO 30 does have a straight line advantage, but into the braking zone. Oh, can't quite do it either. Back to the GT3s, and we're seeing the battle for the lead continue to provide some fantastic entertainment going through the downhill section. Oh, Bandit very nearly loses it as they just clip the grass. They just about hold on to it, but they lose time. It also looked like Rotary might have been able to capitalize, but they didn't. Couldn't quite get close enough. Brandon again going defensive. Very good defensive moves we're seeing from Brandon here. It looks like Bandit has a really solid run though on the outside line. They brake late. Bit of a lockup from Rotary it seemed. And Bandit does manage to get round the outside. So a great move there from the American, but it looks like the Mustang isn't finished yet. The hyper racing machine going back down the inside. Oh, they no, not quite, but Bandit into the wall. That's going to ruin their momentum. We're going for a rear wing cam on the TVR sponsored Jaguar of Rebellion Racing. Down the inside, the hyper racing Ford Mustang goes, and looks like with the power that they have in that engine is going to retake the lead, although it's going to be close. There's a little bit of contact. It looks like Bandit's going to try the cutback, classic Max Verstappen style, and it seems to have worked. So Bandit back up, and now look, Rotary's going down the inside of everyone. Are they? No, they have to back out. It would have been extremely dangerous if they did that. So they choose not to at the moment. Bandit right on the limit of that curb. If they were a fraction over that, no doubt they would have spun, doing a CJ as it's called in the NES. Making their way down across the bridge there, you see. As we go for a replay on Arama. What happened to Arama? Oh, they just clipped the grass. As soon as we talk about people clipping grass, into the gravel trap goes that Rebellion Racing prototype. Cutting back to Farron now. Oh, a little bit of a tap on the barrier, but nothing to worry about for them. GTO seems to be catching Farron actually in the Olympiakos sponsored Hyundai of Virtual Endurance Racing team. Farron opting to come into the pits though. So they were on Supercross, and it looks like they're getting their fuel in as well as changing tyres. Of course, the fuel cap on the 911 RSR is at the front of the car, unlike quite a lot of the other cars that we're seeing here. Interesting. As another replay, we see Mika also clipping the grass and getting it wrong, just spinning, hitting the wall. Unfortunate stuff to see. And then this was Mika again, was it? I think the damage certainly didn't help their chances, and into the wall they go again. Unfortunate stuff for both of the Rebellion Racing LMPs. Going on board now with Houdini in their Hyundai. Of course, Martini Racing Team, a very, very strong competitor over the years of the Nukeshot Endurance Series. Driver Houdini has been around since at least season 2, I believe, as they have a monster run going down out of the S's in the final sector and overtake Ross. That is the benefit of having a non-hybrid through that part of the circuit. Is able to carry so much more raw speed rather than relying on the hybrid system. GTO being caught by James, but now it's GTO's turn to pit. A replay of Ross. What happened to Ross? Oh, they're running wide and they spin in the gravel like a Beyblade. Cutting back to the footage. Rotary. Oh, Rotary also going off onto the grass. So plenty of guys going onto the grass in this particular stage of the race. Of course, the tyres will be wearing at quite a rate but driver's just sticking out, hoping for a safety car, and very nearly paying the price for it. Meanwhile, this is Splurge, leader of LMP, making their way through some traffic. As they go across the bridge, you see NS Rhino in hot pursuit of Rotary. A replay here of Mika. This was actually when the PlayStation 4 spat out its disc, and therefore Mika disconnected, so unfortunate times for them. As onto the straight they go. This is the one remaining rebellion car of Arama versus Tribe Racing for Sterling Racing Team. It looks like, oh, it's going to be very close, and I think, no, Tribe couldn't quite hold on to it. They run just a bit too wide, and they also become a Beyblade. So that's them dropping down to 5th in category, as even their teammate Ross manages to pass them. Now cutting back to the GTs for a little bit, this is James. They're in hot pursuit of Rhino, going on board with the Britannia Racing Simtech Aston Martin, making their way down the inside of the very tricky downhill S's. And they managed to get it done, so fair play to them. That's certainly an unconventional place to be making a move, but James manages to get it to stick. Oh, and those Rhino going on the grass a little bit, running wide. Manages to keep it from looping around. Now to Brandon, it looks like, yep, they are going to be heading into the pits this lap. So the Hyper Racing pit crew waiting in anticipation. So is our cameraman there you saw on shot, Jack Wilkinson. Fuel going into the car, fresh set of rubber as well. Shout out to the guy who liked my activity when I made this clip. And it looks like it's going to be a full tank of fuel for Brandon, and they get back on their way. Meanwhile, this Tribe, oh, bit of oversteer on the downhill S's there. That's actually a characteristic I've noticed of the TSO50. It can be altered with tuning. It requires very, very specific tuning, which perhaps Tribe hasn't quite got on top of at this stage. And into the barrier. To quote Into the Barrier, oh no! But that is them with no doubt damage. It looked like they was being caught by the Porsche of Farron actually from that. This is James chasing down on Rotary, so James making positions. Also, there was a Rama going through in the Rebellion Racing TSO30. James really making moves now. They've managed to just about get up alongside of the GTR. The Nissan with over 600 brake horsepower. And it looks like the Aston Martin has done it. So James really moving up the order in this middle section of the race. Charging their way up, will Rotary be able to challenge? It isn't looking like it at this stage, although James isn't able to really shake Rotary off as they're making their way towards the downhill S's. That is, I believe, the car of Ross of Sterling Racing Team making their way through. Fantastic to see the multi-class racing format back once again. LMPs and GT3s on circuit together is certainly a sight to behold. This is GTO chasing down on who was our pole sitter in GT3, Brandon. Brandon's dropped back a little bit after, I believe they switched to the medium compounded tyre by this stage of the race. It's Brandon making their way through the impossible corner and onto Village Straight, a part of the circuit that is public roads, of course, hence the line markings. Brandon going defensive again, forcing GTO to go for the outside line. Very good racecraft from Brandon we've seen throughout this one, as it looks like GTO might be able to hang it around the outside. Actually, haven't seen much of GTO. There's contact, and GTO does indeed manage to get through. So good job there to GTO. Looked like Brandon may have backed out after the contact, sporting of them. But yeah, haven't seen too much of GTO through this race, so good to see that they are indeed fighting in the mix. You see Brandon looking to perhaps challenge back down the inside again, going into the last corner. Rear wing cam there. Back to the replay cameras here. Or the TV cameras rather, as they make their way onto the straight. It looks like actually the Hyundai might have a bit of a low downforce setup, because not even the Mustang with its American V8 power can get past. So that is GTO keeping that position for now. This is Splurge, our LMP leader at this stage. There you can see the front tyres absolutely shot on the graph in your bottom left. You can also see the speeds that he's carrying through the S's and how shaky it is through the elevation changes as well. The car absolutely shuddering. And it looks like they might be going into the pits on this occasion. The multiple safety cars that we've had at this stage have certainly benefited Splurge and Martini and Rossi Grand Prix. They're making their way to their stop. New tyres, of course. Might as well only change the fronts. Save a bit of time, but of course you can't do that. Making their way back through. Pretty much unchallenged at the moment. Ever since they lost track of the group, managed to break away, they've pretty much been on their own. Houdini going into the pit, so the A teammate of Splurge, or Martini Racing Team, they rejoin in third, so it looks like Arama has managed to overtake them. Although Arama might be due a pit stop. Although the tyres are looking in decent condition at that stage. James coming into the pits for Britannia Racing Simtech, car 44. Bright yellow, can't miss it. Team gets to work. Good stop there by the Aston Martin crew. Fuel going into the car. Fueling up. It'll be interesting to see where James actually re-emerges. It looks like they're going to be quite close. Brandon, will they be able to get through on Brandon? No. So Brandon manages to get ahead of James after the pit stops. And James actually, from cutting the corner, has picked up a 0.5 second penalty for them. They're going to have to serve that at some point during this race. Going to GRM Bandit is currently a Moto Rebellion Racing by Nukeshot 1 and 2 in the GT category. And it looks like Rhino, who's on a bit of a different strategy to Bandit at the moment, letting him through. Camaraderie between the two teammates on that occasion. They see James still with their penalty, but they are going to try and get past Brandon nonetheless. They go for a bit of a tighter exit, trying to get the run. Going on board once again with the Britannia Racing Simtech Aston Martin. Just picking up all of the marbles as they went off the racing line. Couldn't really get off of them once on. They also see LMP race leader Splurge making their way through. It'll be very tight actually, Splurge having to use quite a lot of the grass to make their way through. And they do so. And James managing to send it down the inside. But they broke too late, have they? Just a bit, yep. All over the grass. And that is going to be James perhaps losing another position to Farron of the Porsche GT team. Aston Martin versus Porsche. It's almost like the NES is WEC inspired. Disclaimer, it isn't. But fantastic to see these two fighting it out. James on the InsideLine.com for everything NES. We go on board with Farron. You see the Porsche, even with the slipstream, can't really do anything. James looking to send it on Brandon, and they managed to get it to stick. So Brandon not having the best of runs on corner exit. It looks like Farron's going to capitalise as well on car 96. Car 33 looking to go for the outside. Will they be able to do it? No. Although has Brandon broke a bit late? No, that was just Farron braking a little bit early. Going back to James. James currently 4th in class, if I am not mistaken. But they've gone into the wall, and that's going to pick up damage for them. That's really going to drop them back into the fight with Brandon and Farron. So that's unfortunate for James, especially because we're coming up to a straight where not only is the Mustang strong and got slipstream and carrying a Porsche with it, but it won't be affected by aerodynamic damage. Looks like they can't actually capitalize on that occasion. Oh no, Brandon does manage to get a run. Down the inside they go. Arama catching these guys as well. And where on earth did James go from that exchange? That was very odd. We got a replay here. This is on James. So this is what happened to James, was it? Oh, the brakes just seem to fail momentarily, and off the circuit they go. That was very odd. Must have been some kind of mechanical brake failure or something. The hazard lights are on. You see cars going through. Arama into the pits. The Rebellion by Nukeshot squad refueling. So they were on the super softs. Very quick on the refuel, and they're now going to the softs. They should be good for the end. Hoping they've done the fuel calculation correct, but that has dropped them back behind Houdini. We did say that Arama was due a pit stop, and that was certainly the case. Houdini back up into second. Farron all over the back of Brandon, looking to go the outside line. Can't quite stay alongside there, can't quite follow. The Porsche so good in the corners. No wonder it is a fan favourite. So they're making their way up across the bridge. That's GTO. GTO is going very slowly there as they're 3 wide over the bridge. Fantastic camera shot there from Jack Wilkinson. As they're still side by side. Racing room left, and it looks like the Porsche might just about be able to eke ahead. Indeed they do so. So Farron up into 3rd in the GT3 category, but won't be able to break the slipstream. You'd think they do actually move across the track in order to try and break the slipstream that they're giving Brandon. Doesn't quite work. Blue flags being shown. That is Arama coming up. And down the inside Brandon goes. That was a very late lunge, but Brandon somehow manages to get it to stick. But now look at this, Farron going back down the inside. Fantastic racing between these two. It looks like Brandon just about manages to get ahead. And who's that? Is that Rhino? That's Rhino slowing. What's happened to Rhino? So we're going for a replay here. This was GTO. So this is what happened to GTO. Into the barrier. Again, to quote him, oh no! But that's GTO. That's what ruined their run. No damage for them, luckily. This is what happened to Rhino. So actually, if you look at the bottom left, that is their fuel gauge, and it is flashing red. And they go into the gravel. That wouldn't help, but it's more than likely them running out of fuel before getting to the pits. There you see the other cars going round. Their LMP teammate making their way through. At what point do they run out of fuel? Right there. Right there is when they run out. Fair play to them for staying off the racing line. And yep, that has cost them so many positions. That's dropped them back to last in category. Farron and Brandon's battle continuing meanwhile. So Farron back down the inside. Right on the limits. But Farron manages to get the position. So fantastic scrapping for second in GT3 now that Rhino has dropped back due to the fuel. Oh, bit of onion barges between those two. Both cars seem undamaged as there's a flash of the lights from Brandon. He's trying to put on the pressure. There you actually see GTO, after they did have a bit of a poor run, they'd be managing to stick with this group. Brandon, oh, I thought they might try something extremely insane there, but opted not to. GTO coming under a bit of pressure from Rotary. Yeah, I did mention that GTO didn't pick up damage from that impact, which was very lucky. But Rotary going down the inside in the Aras Motorworks car. Of course, it is also ran by the Virtual Endurance Racing team. Car 32 starting to make their way back up the order, it seems, that GTR with its 600 horsepower. No joke in sections like this, the village straight. Come back to the Mustang with Brandon. Chasing down Farron, although Farron does seem to have a fair bit of a gap now. I think they might have broken the slipstream range, you know. That's allowing them to get away. Brandon, oh, Brandon's ran wide! They spin it, they very nearly hit Rotary, but I think they just about avoid it. But Brandon, after such an amazing drive, they spin it round. This is an onboard replay of Rotary's perspective. There you see Brandon, and look at that! Just about managing to avoid damage. Fantastic reactions from Rotary. GTO meanwhile going into the pit lane, so they had an extra stop to do. Houdini there making their way round, and they also going into the pits actually, so this might actually put them back behind Arama. They pull into the stall, and indeed Arama does retake second place, and Arama should be good for the end. So not quite sure what happened to Houdini, because it looked like they were good to go to the end, but apparently not. Here is Farron again. They're going to be overtaken by one of the Sterling Racing cars. Oh, running wide onto the grass. They just about managed to hold on to it, save for the day material right there. Rotary in hot pursuit of Farron. LMP race leader Splurge still pretty much just by himself at this stage. The tyres once again absolutely shot on the Nissan. When there aren't any safety cars to help it out, it certainly slows it down. Into the pits they go. Martini and Rossi Grand Prix pit crew doing a good job. They make their way out of the pits. This is Farron coming into the pits for the Porsche GT team. Of course, the new shape on the old car with the sticker decals and stuff. There's a safety car. This is the third safety car of the race that has been called out. And thus we have the field bunched back together again. So at this particular stage of the race, it is Splurge in the lead, followed by Arama, Houdini in third, Ross in fourth, followed by their teammate Tribe in fifth, and then in the GTs we have Bandit currently leading them with their gap reduced, Farron in second, GTO up into third, good for them so far, Rotary in fourth, Rhino fifth. Brandon has really lost out from this. In fact, they're back down to sixth. As the safety car is coming in, and we are green, green, green. The cars are off yet again. Splurge having a very good launch. Looks like Arama is managing to stay with them though. Houdini also having a decent launch, but coming under a bit of pressure from the Sterling lads. Oh! Arama nearly losing it entirely. Trying to follow Splurge. They're trying to get ahead. There you see Houdini coming under a bit of threat from Ross. Ross trying to go around the outside. Clipping the grass, can't quite get it done. Back to Arama and Splurge. It looks like Splurge has managed to get away a little bit. Oh no! Have they lost it again? No! Oh, there's contact! Contact for the lead of LMP! And that's Splurge into the wall. Heavy damage for race leader Splurge. And there's absolute chaos as now Ross is up into the lead. of this race, capitalizing from the collision that Arama had with Splurge, so both of those cars damaged. We might even see another safety car this late on into the race. Depends when it's going to be called. But there it is, safety car call. So the car's having to slow down, and no overtaking. Of course, there you can see the Tribe also suffering from quite a lot of damage. It is currently Ross, as there you also see Felix, the safety car there, but it's Ross who is currently the leader of LMP this late on. Here's a replay of what happened with the GT3 start then. Certainly an action-packed sequence of moments. Here you see it was Bandit with a pretty clean start. Going off. And actually it was Rotary. Look at Rotary. Rotary managing to overtake GTO, managing to get up into third. So Rotary making moves at the ladder stage. Oh, little tap. Nothing too severe there between those two. Brandon also starting to climb the order again. Rotary trying to go around the outside of Farin, and they just about managed to get it done. And it seems like they're going to try and make a move on Bandit as well. Can't quite on that occasion. Rotary still charging round though. It looks like they might get him on the straight. Brandon trying to overtake Farin. Now, when was the safety car called for these guys? Oh, so this car's actually going off into the wall. I think the call was a little bit delayed. Or something happened. It hasn't been called yet. As these guys keep on overtaking each other. It must have been called by now, surely. Yep, the safety car is there. And now is absolute chaos because everyone's just trying to sort their order out and stuff. It would have been actually revised to what the order was when the safety car was actually called out, rather than when the GT3 cars got the memo. So everyone just trying to slot back into. And actually on the final lap it was going to be Ross taking the win in LMP, and it's going to be Rotary taking the win in GT3, as it's going to be a safety car finish. So an absolutely dramatic race ending under safety car, but it is indeed Ross of Sterling Racing Team coming across the line to take the checkered flag in formation with their rivals, and G4 Rotary for Ares Motorworks, they take first position in GT3 after a fantastic run towards the end of things. So here are your standings. There you see Ross classified as the race winner in LMP, followed by Houdini, Rama, Splurge, Tribe, and then to the GTs it's Rotary, followed by Bandit, Rhino, Farin, Brandon and GTO. There you see the retirements and of course the pole positions and fastest laps. So an absolutely action-packed race. We hope you enjoyed the preview event as much as we did. This has been Zokyo of Half the Race Gone, signing out.